Hi, everyone. My name is Michael McGreevey, and I'm part of the Conservation Finance team with the Blue Nature Alliance. In this video, I will provide you with a real-world example of how we've implemented this approach to assessing and prioritizing conservation finance mechanisms. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from an assessment we did for Chile's MPA system. Chile has a number of sites in the Blue Nature Alliance portfolio, and we've also looked at the MPA system for the country as a whole. In the last few years, Chile has undergone an extraordinary expansion in their MPA coverage and now is one of the global leaders in the percent of their exclusive economic zone that is protected. Of course, all of that new protection and management is going to require new sources of funding. We did an assessment, as we were describing, for gathering data, quantitative and qualitative, that would be applicable to the different financial mechanisms and instruments on that list of options. Working with a team of consultants, we gathered that information recently for Chile and talked about the mechanisms with various stakeholders to start prioritizing them and putting them somewhere on this map based on our understanding of their feasibility and potential revenue. All of the mechanisms that fell into the pursue category, deemed to have high potential in terms of feasibility and potential revenue, are highlighted in bold in the list. We'll take a closer look at two of them. Levies on sustainable use and philanthropy were two of the instruments that were prioritized for Chile in the previous steps. Levies on sustainable use, again, are fees imposed on sustainable tourism or other activities in protected areas. And we all know how philanthropy works, of course, but this was identified as an underutilized and high potential opportunity for Chile. We'll now show you some of the concrete steps that were developed for how these instruments would be pursued. A roadmap was developed for establishing levies on sustainable use for MPAs in Chile. The steps here include better understanding and mapping the economic activities within Chile's MPAs, including tourism and other activities that we could tap into, identifying the key stakeholders that would need to be engaged if such a levy was to be explored and developed in more detail, and looking more deeply at the governance and resources needed to operationalize such a levy. As part of this process, we of course would want to compare and learn from other countries that have utilized similar tools. This last roadmap shows another mechanism that was highlighted for Chile and relates to something that we all have experience with, philanthropy. We thought it was useful to share here because of the way that this roadmap lays out concrete, actionable steps that could really help move a philanthropic strategy forward. The key steps identified here are mapping out the major philanthropic donors and identifying which would be existing potential or potentially not applicable because of geographic restrictions or other limitations. We would also want to understand the potential to expand support from existing donors or identify particularly high potential donors that may have an interest in the region.